ako, guys. Parang hanggang number 20 lang tayo, guys. Wait lang ha. Parang meron akong ganun. Okay. Ano na ulit ang sinasabi ko kanina? Nalipat ako. Guys, asan na ako kanina? Paano naman ako? Pa-refresh naman po. Bala kayo, pag kayo hindi niyo ako sinasagot dyan, titigil ko na to. Microalbumin po, ma'am. Alam mo, dapat naka-on yung mga camera nyo para alam kung mga ginagawa nyo. Okay, so pero hindi ako masyado makakasulat dito ha, kasi hindi ko masyadong gamay ang Google Meet. Okay, balik tayo dito. Although, meron naman dito. Asan na ba yun? Ito ba yun? Ito. Draw. Okay. Alright, so ano na yung sinabi ko kanina? Microalbuminuria. Diba? Matagal be pag magsusulat pa ako. Kaya wag na. I-take down nyo na lang yung mga sinasabi ko. Diba? Mag-erase pa ako. Tagal-tagal. Okay. Alright, so microalbuminuria, so again, small concentrations of your albumin in urine, kaya siya tinawag na micro kasi kakaunti lang, to the extent na it cannot be measured by your reagent strip. So that's why we make use of other testing methods to determine the presence of very small concentrations of albumin in your urine. So remember, yes, that your microalbuminuria, so this is indicative of diabetic nephropathy. Okay, so renal involvement in the case of diabetes mellitus. Okay, so another analyte that we measure is your ketone. Okay, ketone, mini-measure naman natin yan in order to determine the possible presence of ketosis. Okay, ketosis. In this case, nagkakaroon ng metabolic acidosis yung pasyente. Okay, ayan. So, yun naman ang purpose ng ating ketone measurement. So, in the case of your insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus, all of these are characteristics of your type 1 or your IDDM. Okay, so sabi ko nga, pag may all of this, so yun na yung sagot. Sa akin lang ha, sa akin lang. Baka mamaya i-apply nyo sa ibang subject. So basta sa akin, pag meron kang nakitang all of this, none of this, yun ang sagot. O wag ka nang mag-isip. I-reserve mo na yung energy mo sa ibang items that would require you to really think and analyze the number. Wag din kayong nag-overthink. Okay? So pag sinabi kong all of this na. Mag-overthink ka pa, 'di ba? Sayang ang energy. Alright, number 9, FEP. So ano yung FEP? Ano yung FEP? Nasaan na ako? Okay, FEP is flame emission photometry. Okay, so flame. Ma'am, pwede po yung add comment icon na plus sign po for annotation. Add comment. Hindi na, naku, matanda na ako para sa mga ganyan. I-ano nyo na lang, i-take down nyo na lang lahat ng sinasabi ko. Tapos pag, ma'am, hindi ko nakuha, ganun, ilagay nyo na lang sa chat. Para ulitin ko. Okay, so we have FEP, flame emission photometry. Nasa handout to. Alright, so take note na ang FEP, it is actually considered to be an obsolete method it's considered to be an obsolete method already, pero tinatanong pa din kasi nila yan sa board exam. So take note that when it comes to its use in the laboratory, your FEP is used to measure analytes that are easily excited. Nakalagay nga dyan easily excited. So ano yung mga analytes that are easily excited? Yung mga electrolytes natin na ang kanilang charge ay nasa 1 lang. Okay, like for example, sodium, potassium, chloride, yung mga yan, these are analytes that are easily excited. Okay, these are analytes that are easily excited. Rubidium is also considered to be an analyte that is easily excited. Okay, yes. So you have to consider the charge of your electrolyte. So pag sinabi naman natin na analytes that are not easily excited, ano ang ginagamit natin for their measurement? We have your AAS, Atomic Absorption Spectrophotometry. Okay, so AAS, yan. So analytes that are not easily excited, like for instance, we have your calcium. Okay, calcium. So, ang sagot sa number 9 ay letter B, Bravo, calcium. So, other examples would include your magnesium, yung mga yan. So, if you can still remember, ang charges niyan ay nasa second oxidation state na sila. Tama ba ako? Yeah, 2+. Ganun na ang kanilang charge. Thus, they are not considered to be easily excited. So, ang ginagamit natin ay AAS. Easily excited, FEP. Not easily excited, AAS ang ginagamit po natin. Okay, number 10. A 1-year-old girl with a hyperlipoproteinemia and lipase deficiency has the following lipid profile. Cholesterol is 300, LDL is increased, HDL is decreased, triglyceride is 200 milligrams per DL, and chylomicrons are present. So a serum specimen for this patient, that was refrigerated overnight would most likely be, anong tawag sa method na yan? Standing plasma test. Okay? Or standing plasma test. But in this case, ang ginamit ay serum. Pero anyway, wala namang difference yon. Parehas lang din sila. Okay. So, ano ang titignan mo dito? So always remember that when it comes to the turbidity or the macroscopic evaluation of your sample, ang i-consider mo lang lagi ay si triglyceride. Okay, yes. Why? Kasi nga, pag sinabi mong lipemia, ang nagkukos naman talaga niyan ay presence of your triglyceride because your triglyceride molecule is capable of reflecting light. Okay, yes, it is capable of reflecting light. So, aside from your triglyceride level, another thing that you have to look at would be the levels of your chylomicron and your VLDL. Okay, why? Because remember that your chylomicron and your VLDL, these are the transporters of your triglyceride. Okay, transporters sila ng triglyceride. Alright, so in order for a particular sample to be considered to be lipemic, ano yung triglyceride level dapat? So we have 400 milligrams per DL dapat. Tama? Para maging evident siya, maging obvious siya, makita mo siya doon sa sample mo as turbidity. Okay, so we are looking at 400 milligrams per DL. Alright, ayan. So aside from your triglyceride, another parameter, pero kasi we do not measure it di ba? Yung VLDL natin, hindi natin siya mini-measure directly. Tama, ayan. So, if in case lang na may VLDL value, ang magiging significance nun is that high levels of your VLDL will cause turbidity also. Okay, turbidity din siya ha, kaparehas ni triglyceride na 400 milligrams per DL. Okay, another transporter of your triglyceride is your chylomicron. Okay? So, yung chylomicron natin, it is the one that is responsible for the presence of a creamy layer. Okay? Yes. So, pag present ang chylomicron, creamy layer yan. Naku ha? Creamy layer. Sana? Chylomicron. So this is indicated by the presence of a creamy layer. Dalawa lang kasi ang titignan mo dyan Okay? And then presence of your VLDL or increased triglyceride, ang magiging anong pangalan nito? Itsura naman yan is there will be turbidity. Okay? So this is in the case of your standing plasma test. Yan. Yan ang titignan mo pag standing plasma test. Chylomicron, VLDL, or increased triglyceride. Okay? So, back to the question or back to the item. Ang obvious na titignan mo dyan ay, diba? Kung ano kasi, charas. Okay, so ang titignan mo dyan ay si triglyceride, nakikita nyo ba? At saka si chylomicrons. Okay, ayan. So sabi natin, ano dapat ang value ni triglyceride para makakita ka ng turbidity? 400. 400 ba ang value ni triglycerides? Hindi. And so, wala kang makikitang turbidity. Nakuha? Ayan. Nakalagay dyan, chylomicrons are present. So, you have to consider this already na it will form a creamy layer. Kasi sinabi na nga dyan na present And so, ano yung expected result or expected observation after refrigeration overnight? So, you would expect that the sample will have letter D, creamy layer over a clear serum. Nakuha? Yes. Creamy layer kasi may chylomicrons. Clear serum because the triglyceride level is not enough to cause turbidity. Nakuha? Ayan. Alright. Meron din pong items na hindi siya naka-overnight fasting. Hindi siya, hindi pinerform ang standing plasma test. Okay, yes. So take note that, yes, if for example, you're looking at a sample macroscopically and you notice lipemia, okay, lipemia, ayan, or there is turbidity, ayan, and nung tinignan mo yung request form or probably the makeshift of the patient, so you were able to see there that the patient fasted. Nag-fast si pasyente. So what would be the cause of the turbidity or the lipemia? The cause would be your VLDL. Okay, ayan. So, ang tawag nga actually dyan is fasting turbidity. Alright, so fasting turbidity, the cause is your VLDL. Okay, ayan. So say for instance naman, dumating si sample, may nakita ka ulit na lipemia or it's lipemic or it has turbidity. Okay, patient did not fast. Ano naman ang cause niyan? Ang cause niyan ay chylomicron. Okay, so that's why ang other term that we use in order to refer to this to this instance is anong pangalan nito, non-fasting turbidity. Non-fasting turbidity. Okay, gumagamit din ako ng term na turbidity. Gumagamit din po ako ng term na postprandial turbidity. Katatapos kumain. Okay, ayan. Because if you're going to look at the type of triglyceride that is transported by your VLDL, pag VLDL, ano ang transport niya? Endogenous triglyceride. Okay, so that means triglyceride na galing sa katawan. Triglyceride na ginawa ng katawan mo. Yan ang transport niya. In contrast, pag sinabi naman natin chylomicron, so it is responsible for transporting your exogenous triglyceride. So triglyceride na nanggaling sa diet kasi exogenous So that means the source is not the body, from outside the body, which is basically just your diet. Okay, so ganun siya. Alright, so yan yung mga titignan ninyo pag ang tanong is about turbidity or lipemia of your sample. Okay, number 11, ang actually sagot dito ay C or D. In hyperthyroidism affecting the thyroid gland, what is the level of your TSH? Okay, so diniscuss na natin to before nung cycle 1. Ano ba ako nung cycle 1? Hindi ko maalala. Okay, so again, ano yung mga parameters na tinitignan natin sa thyroid panel natin? So we have your TSH. Kasi yan yung best na ginagamit natin na parameter. And then we also have your T4 and then of course your T3. Okay, ayan. So some books would include your thyroglobulin. Okay, ayan. So but usually pag basic na panel, so we have TSH, T4 and T3. Okay. So pag sinabi nating primary, pag sinabi nating primary, ang tinitignan natin ay primary, ang affected organ ay, ano yung affected organ? So we have your thyroid. Affected is thyroid. Okay. So in number 11, okay, ang ano ito, primary or secondary or tertiary? Kasi meron din tayong secondary. Pag sinabi mong secondary, the affected organ is your hypothalamus. Pag sinabi mong tertiary, the affected organ is pituitary, sorry. Pag secondary, it's pituitary, and then pag tertiary, it's your hypothalamus. Okay, so that's the hierarchy of your of your glands in the case of your thyroid hormones. Okay, so sabi dito, in hyperthyroidism affecting the thyroid gland, what's the level of TSH? So hyperthyroidism affecting the paulit-ulit. This is a case of primary primary hyperthyroidism. So pag sinabi mong hyperthyroidism, mataas, 'di ba? Increased ang kanyang T3 and your T4. Increased T3 and T4. Okay? Yes. The problem is in your thyroid. Kasi nga primary affecting the thyroid gland. So ano yung problema sa thyroid mo? Nagproproduce siya at nagsisecrete siya ng masyadong maraming T3 at T4. Okay? Yan. So since the organ that is affected is your thyroid gland. What can you say about your pituitary gland? Is it normal? Yes, in this case, it's normal. Okay, so what is the normal response of your pituitary gland pag mataas ang T3 at T4? Ano ang normal na response niya? Magsisikret pa ba siya ng TSH? Hindi na. Kasi nga masyado na ngang mataas ang T3 at T4 mo. Kung magsisikret pa ang pituitary gland ng TSH, mas lalo na namang tataas yan. Okay, so that's why the normal, kasi normal naman ang pituitary gland mo dyan eh. The normal response of your pituitary gland is to decrease, di ba? Is to decrease the production and the secretion of your TSH. Okay, so I hope yung diniscuss ko dati sa inyo, yung hierarchy ng ating ng ating organs when it comes to the production of your thyroid hormones, dapat tinake down nyo yan. Okay, para yes, ma-review nyo ulit. Okay, may tanong ba when it comes to your thyroid gland? May tanong ba dyan? Kasi if I'm not mistaken, na-discuss na natin yan eh. May tanong ba? Kasi para alam ko kung saan, kung ano ang liliwanagin ko. May tanong? Wala kayong tanong? Bakit naman? Walang tanong? Ano? O, mag-chat kayo kung may tanong kayo or wala.
Alam po.
Alam ko. Okay, wala. So, ina-expect ko na alam nyo na yan. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, alam nyo na yan. So, pag nagsagot kasi kayo ng ganito, isulat nyo. Isulat nyo sa hypothalamus, TRH, pituitary gland, TSH, thyroid, T3, T4. Okay? And then, bilugan ninyo kung ano yung affected na organ. Okay? So, pag kunwari dito sa number 11, ang affected organ is thyroid, bilugan nyo siya. Ganon. Para at least, gamitin nyo kasi yung questionnaire nyo pag nag-e-exam kayo. Para masagot nyo ng maayos. Sometimes, kailangan mo talagang sinusulat ang mga bagay-bagay. Okay? Ayan. Para makapag-analyze kayo ng mabuti. Nakuha, yan. Affected ang thyroid. Bilugan mo siya. Wala namang something wrong sa pituitary. Wala namang something wrong sa hypothalamus mo. Okay, para ma-analyze mo siya ng maayos. Nakuha? Ayan. Kasi marami akong ganitong tanong. Iba-iba sila. Okay, number 12. Hashish, the most potent form of marijuana, is a resin that is derived from. So ano po ang, ano ulit ang, anong pangalan nito? Ano ulit ang, ano ulit ang, nalipat ako. Scientific name ng marijuana. So we have your cannabis sativa. Okay. Ayan. Opium and poppy plant. Yes, this can also be sources of drugs of abuse, pero hindi po sila marijuana. Okay. Ayan. So cannabis. So this is the correct answer. Cannabis, that's your marijuana. Coca plant is your cocaine. Okay, coca plant naman is your cocaine, marijuana. What is the, anong pangalan nito? Most potent metabolite of your marijuana? Ano yung most potent metabolite ng marijuana natin? Yung the one that we detected during your drug testing. The one that we detect rather during drug testing. So we have your delta tetrahydrocannabinol or your THC. Okay, so your delta tetrahydrocannabinol, so that is the most potent most potent metabolite. Okay, most active component of your marijuana. Okay, number 13, what lipoprotein contains the greatest amount of triglyceride? So you can actually, exclude some of the choices. So you can already exclude LDL and your HDL because hindi naman sila carriers ng triglyceride. So take note that LDL and HDL, these are carriers of your cholesterol. Okay, yes. So you have to consider only the LDL and your chylomicron. So take note that the amount of triglyceride is proportional or is inversely proportional to the weight of your lipoprotein. Okay, so kung sino yung may pinakamaraming lipoprotein tuloy, kung sino yung may pinakamaraming triglyceride, siya yung pinakamagaan. So among the different lipoproteins that we have, which one is the least dense or pinakamagaan? We have your chylomicron because it contains majority or it is composed, majority of your triglyceride. Siya yung may pinakamaraming triglyceride. Sino ang may pinakamaraming protein? It's your HDL because because protein content is directly proportional to the density or to the weight of your lipoprotein. Okay, so take note that your HDL, it is considered to be the heaviest, di ba? HH nga yan eh. HDL heaviest lipoprotein because it contains a lot of proteins or it contains the greatest amount of protein. Okay? Next, conjugated bilirubin will be excreted in the urine in all of the following disorders except. So dito, you have to identify what particular bilirubin is responsible or is increased in the disorder. Okay? So Dubin-Johnson syndrome, this is an excretion deficit disorder. What type of bilirubin is increased? It's your conjugated. Infectious hepatitis, still your conjugated bilirubin. Hemolytic jaundice, okay? So this is unconjugated bilirubin ang mataas. Obstructive jaundice, ano ang mataas? We have your conjugated bilirubin. Okay, ayan. So that's why for number 14, kasi except ang tinatanong dyan eh, saan mo hindi makikita si conjugated bilirubin? So we have your hemolytic jaundice. Kasi ang mataas sa hemolytic jaundice ay unconjugated bilirubin. Okay, unconjugated bilirubin po sila. Alright, number 15. At a pH of 8.6, proteins are... Ano ang charge ng proteins natin? Pag 8.6, they are positively or negatively charged? We have negatively charged. Okay, wait lang guys ah. Okay, negatively charged ang proteins at an alkaline pH. Don't forget that, okay? So take note that since they are negatively charged, they will be attracted to the negatively charged electrode, which is your anode. Okay, ayan. So ano ang tawag ulit sa pag negatively charged ang isang substance? We call it an anion, di ba? Anion. Anion. Negatively charged. Okay. So they will be attracted to your anode. Ano ang charge ni anode? This is positively charged. Alam nyo, maraming naguguluhan talaga dito sa anion anode, cation cathode na to. Remember ha, yung naming ng electrodes natin, it is not based on the charge. It is based on the type of ion that it attracts. Okay? Si anode, ano ang ina-attract niya? Kasi positively charged siya eh. Tama ba yung sinulat ko dyan? Okay, yes. Positively charged si anode. So ano ang ina-attract niya? Anion. Kaya siya tinawag na anode. Okay? Si cathode naman, it is negatively charged. It is the negatively charged electrode and it attracts cations which are positively charged. So, ibig sabihin, pag ions ang pinag-uusapan natin, ang naming niya is based on the charge, whether it is positive or negative. Pero pag electrode ang pinag-uusapan natin, ang naming niya is based on what type of ion it attracts. Nako ha? Ayan. So, ulitin ko ha, physiologically speaking, yeah, even inside your body, proteins are negatively charged. Okay? So, negatively charged sila, that's why they will migrate towards the anode. Okay? Ayan. Liver enzyme that, parang naulit ito guys. Liver enzyme that is significant when decreased. We have your cholinesterase enzyme. Okay, cholinesterase, yes. Kasi this is decreased in the case of your organophosphate poisoning. Yan, yung mga ginagamit natin as insecticides or pesticides sa agriculture. Alright, so ALP, para saan na ulit si ALP? Dalawa. Pwedeng liver yan or bone. Okay, ano ang titignan mong parameter pag liver? Si GGT. Parehas silang increased. Ano ang titignan mong parameter pag bone? Si GGT pa din. Kasi sa bone disease, si GGT ay normal. Okay? Yes, GGT on its own is significant in the case of your alcoholic liver disease. Okay, di ba ang palatandaan nyo nga dyan is gene. T. So, alcoholic. Basta nakakita ka ng alcohol dyan na iniinom, GGT na yan. Okay, GGT. AST naman, so this is used now for your liver. Formerly, ginagamit siya sa AMI, pero just like what I have mentioned, hindi na po siya ganun ka-significant sa AMI because meron na tayong CKMB. So, yung CK dyan, para yan sa AMI. Okay? Next, what level of hazard is indicated by a numeric rating of 2 in the NFPA symbol? So, 2 is moderate. So, pag mga ganyan, hindi ko na siya i-discuss ha. Kasi wala man akong magagawa dyan eh. Charot. I mean, wala na akong i-explain dyan. Okay. Next, if a screening TSH is high, which test is likely to be ordered next? So, actually, syempre, saan ba ginagamit ang TSH? So, take note that your TSH is for thyroid, is part of your thyroid profile or your thyroid panel. Okay, ayan. So, after your TSH, ang next na i-order is your T4. Kasi ang basic na thyroid panel natin ay TSH, T3, T4. Okay, yes, some would include your TBG, pero hindi naman talaga siya part ng basic panel natin. Pang-additional testing lang po ang TBG. Okay, so in this case, you can already exclude ferritin and cholesterol because they are not really part of your thyroid panel. Okay, ayan. So pag TSH, ang next dyan ay T4. Okay, T4. Bakit T4 at saka bakit T4 and not T3? In-explain ko na yan because remember that majority of your T4 ay thyroid in origin. So if you really want to check your thyroid gland, ano ang pipiliin mo? T4 or T3? T4. Because yung T3, pwede po yang ma-produce sa circulation outside of the thyroid already. If I'm not mistaken, only 20% of your T3 is of thyroid in origin. Okay? Nakuha? So, ibig sabihin, between T3 and T4, which one is more reflective of thyroid function? It's your T4. Okay, ayan. So baka mamaya lagyan ko dyan ng T3. Oh, wag T3 ang sagot ha, T4 pa din. Okay? Next, number 19. On electrophoresis, transient dysalbuminemia or a grossly widened albumin zone is associated with letter A, presence of therapeutic drugs in serum sample. All right. So actually, this one is mentioned by Bishop. Okay, yes. So you always have to read on your serum electrophoresis. Kasi marami din akong tinatanong regarding dyan. Okay, so reading na lang yun ha, reading assignment. Wow, para umabot tayo sa number 20. In a Gaussian curve distribution, the plus or minus 2 SD range includes which of the following percentage of values? Dapat memorize nyo na to. Yun ang expectation ko since natapos nyo na yung internship. So, dapat memorize nyo na ang Gaussian curve. Okay? Especially yung ating mga control limits plus or minus 1 SD, plus or minus 2 SD, plus or minus 3 SD. So, ano yung 99.7? That's your plus or minus 3 SD. Okay, so meaning 99.7% of your values should be within the curve. 95.5%, so this is plus or minus 2 SD. Okay, so meaning 95% of your values are within the curve. Letter C, 68.3%, this is plus or minus 1 SD. So yung letter D, wala yan. Okay, ayan. So please do check your Gaussian curve distribution. So say for instance, walang nakalagay na plus or minus 2 SD. Ang nilagay ko lang dyan ay in a quality control chart. Okay, in a quality control chart, how many values are expected to fall within the control limit? Wala akong nilagay na specific control limit. Ano ang sagot? Ano ang magiging basis mo? Plus or minus 1 SD, 2 SD, 3 SD? Dali, sumagot kayo. Ano ang magiging basis natin? Dapat. Anybody? Okay, 2 SD. Because, bakit 2 SD? Kasi, it's safe to assume na ang ini-imply ng tanong ay routine QC. Okay? So remember that in routine QC, ang ginagamit po natin ay 2SD. Okay? 2SD po ang ginagamit natin. Alright? Yes naman, si Cerezo. Si Jerjem, very active siya today. Okay. So, pag plus or minus 3SD, hindi na siya, yeah, correct siya. It is already considered to be unacceptable. Okay? Number 21, di ba? Parang actually maraming tanong na na under sa isang topic lang. Like for example, ito, when a protein is dissolved in a buffer solution, the pH of which is more alkaline and an electric current is passed through the solution, the protein will act as. O, di ba? Parang ganyan din yung kanina, yung doon sa at a pH of 8.6. Same concept lang ang ginamit. Okay? Ayan. So, ulitin natin. Anong sagot dito? Ang protein nilagay mo sa isang alkaline na environment. Saan siya magmamigrate? Anong magiging kanya? Okay, yes. So, it's letter E. It is an anion and it will migrate to the anode. Okay, an ion and migrate to the anode. Guys, meron pa akong sometimes na tanong. Yes, sometimes na tanong. May tanong pa ako na migrates. Kasi minsan may mga ganitong tanong eh. Migrates towards the anode. Migrates or farthest. Tama ba yung ano ko? Farthest to the anode. Farthest to the anode. Okay, farthest to the anode sa ating serum proteins, we have your albumin. Diba? Farthest to the anode. Okay? So, ang sagot dyan ay albumin. Paano pag farthest from the anode? Magkaiba to ha, magkaiba ang ibig niyang sabihin. Farthest from the anode, so we have your gamma globulin. Okay, so you have to you have to be careful when it comes to the preposition that is used pag farthest to the anode. Albumin yan. Albumin is also considered to be the fastest, right? Fastest, farthest to the anode, most anodal, most anionic, pare-parehas lang yan ang ibig niyang sabihin. Ibig sabihin kung sino yung pinakamalapit doon sa anode, that would be your albumin if, okay, may if tayo dyan, if ang sample mo ay serum. Nako ha, if your sample is serum, most anionic, farthest to the anode, fastest ay si albumin. Okay? Pero pag ang sample naman po natin ay CSF, remember, our CSF contains significant amount of pre-albumin. Okay? Pre-albumin, tama? Yan. So, since mataas ang concentration ni pre-albumin sa CSF, you would be able to notice a band that is anodal to your albumin. Okay. Kaya nga siya pre-albumin, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, kung ito si albumin, meron pang isang band kang makikita. Okay, and that's your pre-albumin. So say for instance, tatlo na lang ganyan. Kunwari ito yung anode mo. Okay, ito yung anode mo. Pag serum ang pinag-uusapan natin, di ba? Pinapahirapan ko yung sarili ko. Pag serum ang pinag-uusapan natin, walang pre-albumin. So ang pinakamalapit kay anode ay si albumin. Naku ha. Pero pag CSF ang pinag-uusapan natin, meron kang makikitang pre-albumin dyan. Okay? That is closer to your anode as compared to your albumin. Okay. That's why you have to be careful. Baka mamaya ang ilagay ko dyan ay CSF. I'm sure may ganun akong tanong. Okay? Ang sagot doon ay pre-albumin or I think anong sample, saang sample siya makikita nakikita natin yan sa CSF kasi it's the second most predominant protein in your CSF. Okay. Farthest from the anode, pinakamalayo mula sa anode. It's your gamma globulin. 'Di ba ganyan nga? Tama ba ako? Ganito ba? Ganyan. 'Di ba? Ganyan ang ating palatandaan. Pag ang pinag-uusapan natin ay SPE, your serum protein electrophoresis. So we have your albumin, your alpha, your beta, your gamma, your albumin, your alpha 1, your alpha 2, your beta, and your gamma. Okay, so these are the regions of your SPE or your serum electrophoresis. Okay, ganyan siya. Alright, sumakit ang aking kamay. Alright, so yan. So farthest from the anode, ano pa ang ibang mga synonyms nito? Most cathodic, diba? Most cathodal, yan. So ibig sabihin, pinakamalayo siya from your anode. Ang correct answer dyan ay gamma globulin. Okay. So number 22, conditions associated with mercury poisoning include. Ano ang sagot natin dyan? It's letter D. 1, 2, and 3 are correct. Na kay Henry po ito. Yes, tinitignan ko kung talagang nagbabasa ba kayo kay Henry or kinalimutan nyo na si Henry. So remember, these are all diseases or disorders associated with your mercury poisoning except for your itay-itay disease or your ouch-ouch disease, which is a condition associated naman to your cadmium poisoning. Okay, cadmium naman si number 4, your itay-itay or your ouch-ouch disease. Alright, si congenital minimata, lagi kong binabanggit yan sa mga exam. So take note that congenital minimata disease, this is a pollution-associated disorder in Japan during their industrial years. And anong pangalan nito? The specific form of mercury is the organic form, yung methyl mercury natin. Okay, the organic form of your mercury. So meron ngang recall question merong recall question before na what form of mercury is considered to be environmental pollutant. So that's the organic form of mercury, mga methyl mercury, yung mga yan, ethyl mercury. Okay, so those are considered to be pollutants, okay, environmental pollutants. All right. Next, 23. What is the primary role of PTH? Promote calcium absorption, promote calcium excretion, prevent hypocalcemia, prevent hypercalcemia. Ano ang correct sagot? Correct sagot. Correct na sagot, we have prevent hypocalcemia. That's the primary role of your PTH. Okay? Why? Why kaya? Kasi, okay, remember ha, pag sinabi mong PTH, okay, ang main mechanism niya in order to prevent. So, ang pinaka-role niya is to prevent hypocalcemia. Lagay ko lang. So, how does it prevent hypocalcemia? So, the primary mechanism used by your parathyroid hormone to prevent hypocalcemia is to stimulate calcium resorption. Okay. Hindi calcium stimulate bone pala, sorry. Bone resorption or bone destruction. Pare-parehas lang po ang ibig sabihin niyan. Bone dissolution. Okay. Ayan. So that's the primary mechanism of your PTH. Okay? To stimulate bone resorption, bone destruction, bone dissolution. Because, ano ba ang problema mo? What's the issue here? The issue here is you have hypocalcemia. Tama? Nasaan ang mga calcium mo sa katawan? Nasa buto, 'di ba? Nasa bone mo yung mga calcium mo sa katawan. And so, kung mababa ang calcium levels mo sa dugo, saan ka kukuha ng calcium? Doon sa iyong buto. 'Di ba? Sa bone ka kukuha ng calcium kasi nandun yung mga calcium mo nandun sa extracellular matrix ng bone tissue. So what do you have to do in order to get the calcium from your bone matrix? You have to destroy your bone matrix. You have to dissolve your bone matrix. You have to perform resorption para matanggal si calcium sa bone matrix, maipunta mo siya sa circulation, thereby preventing hypocalcemia. Okay, ganun siya. Alright, so in addition to stimulating bone resorption, destruction, or dissolution via the activity of your osteoclast. Pinag-aaralan nyo to sa histology. Yes, alam ko kasi nagturo din ako ng histology. Okay, so via the action of your osteoclasts. Tama. Another function of your PTH is to activate pero lahat naman tayo dito gutom. Okay lang yan. To activate your vitamin D. Diba? To activate your vitamin D. So, pag na-activate si vitamin D, ano ulit ang magiging tsuba niya? Magiging calcitriol siya. Diba? So, si calcitriol, ano naman ang action ni calcitriol? Ang action ni calcitriol is 1. Promote intestinal calcium absorption. Okay. Ano pa ang isa pa niyang function? Promote ulit renal calcium reabsorption. Ganyan siya, guys. Okay? Ayan. And so, kasi baka naguluhan kayo baka ang isagot nyo dyan ay promote calcium absorption. That's not a direct role of your PTH. Okay? Kasi ang responsible talaga dyan ay si calcitriol. Okay? Ang role ni PTH is to activate your vitamin D so that it becomes your calcitriol. And then your calcitriol is the one which is directly involved in the intestinal absorption of your calcium and the renal reabsorption of your calcium. It's not your PTH. Okay, so that's why for number 23, ang best answer nito ay prevent hypocalcemia. Okay? Letter D, prevent hypercalcemia. This is the role of your calcitonin. Okay? Si calcitonin, baliktad sila ng function ni parathyroid hormone. Okay? Your calcitonin in particular, it prevents hypercalcemia by stimulating bone absorption. Okay? Parang absorption lang ang naisip ko. Formation, ayan, yung mga yan. Pare-parehas lang yung mga terms na yan. Bone absorption, bone formation, parehas lang po yan. Okay? And yan ay ginagawa ni calcitonin. Saan galing si calcitonin? Galing siya kay thyroid gland. Okay? Yung follicular cells or C cells of your thyroid gland. Saan galing si parathyroid hormone? Siyempre sa parathyroid gland siya galing. Okay? Ganon. Sabihin nyo pag ayaw nyo na. Kasi titigil ko na. Ayaw nyo na ba? Sabihin nyo lang ha. Okay lang sa akin. Alright, next. NPN that does not measure renal function. Okay? Ang best na answer po dito ay, kasi ganyan lagi ang choices naman na binibigay sa board exam eh. Kasali talaga si uric acid. Okay? We all know na if we are really going to look at the clinical utility of your NPN, dalawa lang naman talaga ang ginagamit dyan. It's your creatinine and your urea. Okay, yes. However, there is a historical context when it comes to your uric acid being used for renal function kasi nag-i-increase din siya in the case of your azotemia. Okay, ayan. So, merong historical context doon kung bakit ammonia ang best. So, ang answer dito ay letter B, ammonia. Kasi hindi talaga yan ginamit ever. Okay, as a measure of renal function because from the beginning, ammonia is used to determine liver function. Okay, pang liver function po ang ammonia. Naku ha, ayan. Favorite ko din ang ammonia. Lagi ko din niyang tinatanong, ano ba ang mga kailangan nyong alam sa ammonia? Ano ang ginagamit na anticoagulant for your ammonia? It's your heparin because the best sample actually for your ammonia is arterial blood. Gumagamit po tayo ng arterial blood. Okay, kasi nga pag venous blood ang gagamitin mo pag ammonia, ang dami niyang requirements. Like for example, dapat non-trauma siya, dapat mabilis kang magkuha ng dugo, mag-extract ng dugo, so on and so forth. So that's why, yes, mas maganda kung ang gagamitin mo ay arterial blood. Okay, yes, yun yung best na sample for ammonia testing. It's arterial blood. Anong ginagamit na anticoagulant? It's your heparin. Paano pag mag-venous blood ka? Ano ang gagamitin mo? EDTA. Okay, EDTA dapat ang gamitin mo. Alright, ano pa? Your ammonia, it is used to measure liver function. Okay, it is also the one that we measure in cases of hepatic encephalopathy. Okay, ano pa? Yan din ang mini-measure natin in patients. Yeah, patients, anong tawag doon? Patients who are suffering from coma. Yeah, comatose patients. Wait lang, nakalimutan ko yung term. Coma of unknown etiology. Yeah, okay, coma. Lagyan natin. Baka makalimutan ko. Coma of unknown etiology. Okay, or Q. Okay, coma of unknown etiology. Pag sinabi mo kasing coma, Okay, of unknown etiology. Hindi naman sa hindi talaga alam kung ano yung cause ng pagiging comatose ng patient. Pag sinabi mong Q or ulitin ko naman, or coma of unknown etiology, ibig sabihin lang nun is the condition of the patient is not brought about a trauma, hindi siya nauntog or na aksidente or nabagok, hindi siya na ganon, kaya siya nagkaroon ng coma or kaya siya na comatose. Hindi din yan dahil sa ischemia or lack of oxygen in the brain. Okay? So kung ang cause ng comatose kung ang cause ng pagiging comatose ng pasyente mo ay hindi dahil sa trauma or hindi dahil sa ischemia, considered na siya or classified na siya na coma of unknown etiology. Okay, ganyan siya. Ayan. So one particular analyte that we can assay in this kind of condition is your ammonia. But of course, you have to take note pa din dun sa sample na gagamitin, ha? Pag blood sample, ano ang ia-assay mo? Ano ang itetest mo? Ammonia ang itetest mo pag blood sample. Pag CSF sample, ang itetest mo ay glutamine. Okay? Paano pag kunwaring merong pasyente, meron siyang na-comatose siya nang hindi natin alam kung bakit siya na-comatose? Which of the following are you going to perform? Blood ammonia level, CSF glutamine level. Paano pag dalawa ang binigay kong choices? Dalawa sila, part ng choices. Ano ang ipaperform mo? Ammonia determination or glutamine determination? Parehas silang binigay ko. Parehas silang binigay ko doon sa choices. Ano ang ipaperform? Hoy! Dali na, para mag-lunch na tayo. Last na to ha, guys. Wow, ni last. Kasi past 12 na, magluluto pa ako. Ano ang ipaperform mo? Wala, bahala kayo dyan. Okay, basahin nyo Charot. Okay, ang yes, perfect, Miss Florendo, hello. Okay, ayan, ang ipaperform mo ay ammonia. Why? Because you have to consider which sample can be easily obtained from the patient. Alin ba ang mas madaling i-collect? Blood or CSF? Syempre blood, di ba? Okay, so that's why ang best answer pag both analytes are given is your ammonia. Okay, ganyan sila sa board exam ha. Minsan talagang dalawa yung nilalagay nilang sagot. Pero of course, 'di ba? Doon tayo sa the best. Okay? Imagine mo na lang paano ka naman magko-collect ng CSF, 'di ba? Comatose na nga. Paano siya magsusupine position? Isusupine wala. Basta ang hirap pag CSF in short. So that's why blood ammonia ang ipaperform mo. Okay? Ayan, gagawa nga ako ng bagong set ng tanong. Okay, next ay mag-lunch na tayo, guys. Okay, may specific ba kayong tanong? Sorry hanggang ganun lang na ano natin. Kayo, kung gusto nyo ulit ituloy mamaya, ako okay lang sa akin naman. Okay lang naman sa akin na ituloy. Basta hanggang alas 3 lang ha. Wow, hanggang alas 3. Oo guys, hanggang alas 3 lang tayo. Magtanong kasi kayo, para kayong mga ano dyan nagkakahiyaan pa ba tayo guys? Ilang buwan na tayong magkakasama, dapat hindi na tayo nagkakahiyaan. I mean like, academically speaking, okay, dapat hindi na tayo nagkakahiyaan, okay? Kung may mga tanong kayo, kung sa tingin niyo ay makakatulong yung pagtatanong nyo, go lang, magtanong lang kayo. Sige, ituloy natin later. Okay, sige, ituloy natin. Parang napasubo ako, guys. Charot. Okay, sige, happy lunch. Bye! Basta mag-chat ako ha, mga 2 o'clock na lang, ganun.